for the conduct of this seminar and the sponsors without whom the program would never
To the eminent speakers, chief guests, dignitaries, and all the participants to the two-day national seminar titled Chemical Sciences in Sustainable Technology and Developments, Challenges and Opportunities. Yesterday's session had intersected with the presence of prominent speakers presided by Sri Ronaldo Sir, Chief Inviting Professor S. Ramachandran, VC, Anurag University, Chief Guest Dr. Srivari Chandrasekhar, Secretary DST, Government of India, and many other effective and efficient speakers, including Professor D. Ashok Sir, Professor N. Tirmalachari, Dr. S. S. Kalyan Kamal, Dr. U. Rambabu, and an invited talk by Gunta Lakshmanji. And also we had oral and poster presentations. This made our day a great success. Now I take our opportunity to initiate the second day session with all the energy and enthusiasm. Now I invite Dr. Shivakumari to introduce our first speaker of today's session. Thank you.
Second of national seminar. I am very privileged to introduce Dr. Tripathi. Dr. Upendra N. Tripathi has completed his PhD in chemistry from University of Rajasthan, Jaipur in 1992 in the field of metallo-organic chemistry. He has been awarded the postdoctoral research fellowship in 1996 to 1998 by Alexander von Humboldt Research Foundation, Germany, and executed postdoctoral research in Technical University, Munich, Germany. He has rich industrial and academic excellence and experience for over 30 years in the field of synthetic research, analytical research, quality control, quality assurance and environmental studies. Dr. Tripathi was actively involved in analytical research and guided research students for pursuing PhD degrees for various institutes in and around Hyderabad. He has published over 30 research publications in national and international journals. Dr. Tripathi is currently Executive Director and promoter of an US FDA-approved lab known as Target Labs Private Limited. We welcome you to the home of minorities.
Request him to as a chair for this session.
Very nice introduction. Today I am going to talk about the elementary MSc. Okay, no issues. No issues. Okay, you kindly remember that there is something which is called elementary impurities. So today I will be talking with respect to pharmaceutical industries. Why? Because if you are just doing BSc, then you can plan your career based on this. Maybe you can get some idea out of this. So today I will be talking about the recent advances about the impurities. Okay, so what is the impurity? So the impurity means, we are every one of us are taking some medicines. If I am a manufacturer, if I am supplying this to maybe the market or sending to you. But now what is happening? Scenarios are changed. So people are talking about not only the purity anyway is required. You have to talk about the impurities. So, what are the types of impurities will be there if you are synthesizing a compound? First, how many people know how to synthesize a molecule? Any organic chemistry, like when you mix one to second one, you are getting some compound. During the process of reaction, you will get certain impurities. That impurities may be two types. One will be organic, other will be inorganic. So, then how many people know about USP? Anybody please? If not, then you kindly try to make a note of this. USP means United States Pharmacopoeia. Okay. You can see whatever the medicines you are taking now, you go to your home and after that you try to see the script, and then it will be something, it will be written like either IP, Indian Pharmacopoeia, or US Pharmacopoeia. So here we are talking about the impurities, like if you go for USP, I have written already here that USP means United States of Pharmacopoeia. If it is the organic impurity, they are already talking, and that is the general chapter called 1469. But today we are going to talk about the inorganic impurities. What is the inorganic impurities? Any inorganic compound anybody can say? Yes, please. Inorganic compound you are taking, there is salt, sodium chloride. Right now? So here impurities like USP is talking about that is, there is some general chapter USP 232, 233, and there is international guideline that is called ICH-3D. So what is the type of impurities? So any of the drug, what USP or international guidelines are talking that you are supposed to check 24 impurities. There are total 24 impurities. Out of that, there are 7 elements are very, very important, like cadmium, arsenic, lead, mercury. You would have already heard, whatever the agricultural products we are getting, you would have heard that mercury contaminations are there. So similarly, in the drug, the regulatory bodies are asking for these impurities, like this is cadmium, lead, arsenic, mercury, then vanadium, cobalt, and nickel. These are the 7 elements. Apart from that, altogether there are 24. So here, if you see, I have kept last 3 columns. If you see the same product, if it is for oral concentration, what is the meaning of oral concentration? Can somebody tell please? Mouth. Yeah, by mouth, whatever you are taking is like maybe tablet, capsule, or maybe syrups. So if it is a oral formulation, there is a limit for each element. Just see that. Let us see the example like cadmium. Cadmium for oral concentration it is 0.5 ppm. Like sometimes we take through inhalers. If you see the example like if you see the arsenic, third category, arsenic. So for oral it is 1.5 ppm. For parenteral also 1.5 ppm, but if it is for inhalation, then it is 0.2 ppm. So what is the meaning of this? That whatever the drug we are manufacturing, we need to screen for all these metal impurities. Why to screen? If you remember, I don't know how many people have that initially we have been facing the problem of ranitidine. Ranitidine. Anybody is reading the articles? Say there are several products which have been supplied to US market and it was rejected. That is all ranitidine. Most of the people who are having gastric problem, so they are eating this. Why it was rejected? Because there was an impurity that is called nitrosamines. Anybody want to do in future organic synthesis design, try to make a note of this. These are really very interesting topics. So because of the ranitidine, because of this nitrosamine impurity, those products have been rejected. So that is the reason why government or regulatory bodies has come up with different regulations. So that's what I wanted to tell you that these are the 7 elements which we are supposed to do for all the products, and again definitely should be screened and identified and quantified. Select the impurity in any of the organ. You just visualize yourself. After 2 years, you are going to do this. So how you will identify the impurities? By default, you are supposed to do class 1 and class 2A. Before. You see, we have talked about. So any of the drug where you want want to identify the impurities, what you will do, these 7 elements you will certainly do. Apart from that, we are also supposed to do some more elements. That elements will be coming through the catalysis. How many people know about the catalysis? Students, please. No teachers. I think teachers are answering. Yeah, what is the meaning of catalysis? One person, please. Yeah, so catalysis is like something it will catalyze the reaction. 1 plus 2 means it will catalyze the reaction. So during the process of catalysis, you are using some metal-based catalyst like palladium, platinum. So this type of things also to be considered along with the class 1 and 2 elements. So because ours is a company where we are doing for some multinational companies and we cannot disclose so many data, but I am going to talk about one of the product which is a oncology drug, a cancer drug that is called trabectedin. And that validation I am going to just give an idea, not detail, but just going to give some ideas. So in this trabectedin, we have identified 7 elements, class 1 and 2A, and along with that, there are two more other elements, like you can see that is in blue color, aluminium and tungsten. What is the W? Yes, that's very nice. So these 2 elements also we have identified. So total there are 9 elements. What are the elements to be identified for the validations? How many people know that what is the meaning of validation? Okay, you are into a graduate, so maybe it's okay. I can teach you later. So during my heading, I told you that we are talking about the green chemistry because of the help request of Nirupa Madam. She told me to talk something about the green chemistry. So here we are going to talk about the green chemistry. Even I remember during my PhD, I have been preparing my sample for metal analysis at university. We are getting inhalation and we are having health issues. So now during this validation what we did, we have used a very good tool. You can just see that I am using only 100 milligram sample. I am using only 5 ml of the acid, and this total activity will be completed maybe half an hour. The activity what I was doing maybe half day, this was completing in only 30 minutes. Acids maybe we are using maybe 20 ml, 30 ml, so now I am using only 5 ml. And very important, because what happens when we do our sample preparation, how many people, do you have a laboratory now? You are doing some practicals? So you must be handling the acids and solvents, right? Do you know that those solvents or acids are also very dangerous for our health? You know that? So here you can see the last point, least personal exposure. Personal exposure means you are working for that activity, and suppose whole day you are getting exposed to those solvents and all, it is not good for your health. So by using this technique, we are able to reduce sample quantity, we are able to reduce the acid uses, we are able to do the things very fast, and there is no personal exposure. So health issue, no issue. Yeah, so I will go a little fast because I thought, anyways, for the undergraduate students, it is little, but you kindly, my request is that there is a terminology called validation, and then you take these points. Right? You write these points, or maybe you can make a note of that. So if you want to do any validation of any of the method, analytical method, you are supposed to qualify that method for these criteria, and these criteria are recommended by ICH Q3D. Kindly remember this word. ICHQ3D. You write these points. So to validate this method, I am going with overview and then accuracy. I will talk about these very superficially so that at least you will understand a little bit of this. So during system difficulty, what we do, suppose we are talking here in this case about 9 elements. So we prepare the standard at 7 concentrations, 7 different concentrations, maybe 1 ppm, 2 ppm, 5 ppm, 7 ppm, like that. And then we will do there is a equipment that is called ICP-MS. This is very high-end equipment, which is costing almost around 1.5 crore. If someone is interested, you can visit my laboratory. Maybe at the end I will be telling about that. So there, from 1 ppm to maybe highest ppm concentration, we are plotting the graph, and in that graph the correlation coefficient should be more than 0.99, where we got 0.99975 to 999981. So this was meeting the criteria. Students, again, polarity correlation coefficient, you write that point. That is maybe good for you to learn in future. Specificity, we do the standard, we do the sample in a similar way. We try to see the percentage RSD, this deviation from one data to other data. The value should be less than 20%. And we have got the same. Recovery of each element should be between 70 to 150%, whereas we got from 98 to 104%. And when we want to see whether my system is performing well, that we want to take decision. We are supposed to prepare the sample in the 6 replicates. Means 6 times the same samples will be prepared, and there will be checking each samples, each concentrations, percentage RSD, which is supposed to be less than 20%, which we got. And sample preparation for content, like what is the percentage expected, should be less than 20%, which we got. And then recovery of each element should be between 80 to 120%, which we got 98 to 102%. It was very good result. Again, the intermediate decision is same analysis will be done by the second analyst to see that how rugged is your method, how strong is your method, and in a similar way we got here also the data were well within the acceptable range. Linearity, again from lower concentration to higher concentration we have done, and there we are checking the percentage RSD at each level, which should be less than 20%, but we got 0.123%. And similarly, correlation coefficient should be more than 0.99, which we got. Yeah, this is a very important point. You can see we are talking about the elemental impurities here. Now you can see we have developed and validated this method for mercury, arsenic, lead, cadmium, vanadium, cobalt, nickel, aluminum, and tungsten. So you can see the capability of the method. We are able to do 4.5 ppb of this mercury. 4.5 ppb is very low. Even in the atmosphere also it will be something there. If it is a polluting area, then you will get a lot of lead. So lead, this mercury is 4.5 ppb, lead is about 0.75 ppb, cadmium we got 0.75, arsenic is 2.25 ppb. These all are values are in ppb. So very low. You kindly make a note of this. Then what we did, all these concentrations we have tried to see the precision. Precision means that 6 samples prepared, and again we have tried to see whether really there is a repeatability in the data or not, which we got very well. Now the accuracy is very important parameter. Suppose you are developing a method, you need to see literally whether the method is working well or not. So you are spiking the sample with standard, and then you need to check the recovery of the metal. So the recovery has been found to be 97.7 to 99.9%, against the acceptable limit of 80 to 120%. This is about the validation. I don't want to talk more into this because of the students. I really wish that people should write down these terminologies, and you should try to study whenever you get an opportunity. Now I will, with permission of Nirupa Madam, I would like to talk about my company. So my company is Star Tech Laboratory. This is very much in Hyderabad only, and this is what happened? Yeah. So this is the building. This is not that building, madam. So yeah. Now this is now civil work is over. Now maybe in another 6 months this building will be ready. Maybe the students can come sometime whenever they wish. This is our dream project. So this company is we started in 2001, around 22 years back, and we have around 60 scientists working with us. Most of them are doing pharmacy and about USFDA 3 times. How many people know about USFDA? Students, please, you remember this. USFDA is very prestigious American regulatory body. If you want, this is laboratory. Apart from that, this laboratory is also approved by Health Canada. Then we have approval by Drugs Control Administration, Government of Telangana. And then apart from that, we have ISO 9001, OSHA, NABL, various other certifications from India. Major equipments. Now the students, can you make note of this? These are very high-end equipments. So this is the equipment by which we can see the polymorphism, which form of the organic compound it is there. So we have XRD, we have got ICP OES, ICP-MS. Then we have got water activity analyzer. We have got HPLC. How many people know HPLC? So very common equipment. HPLC, thank you. So HPLC, GC, and then we have got TOC analyzer, UV visible, FTIR. Then we also have a microbiology department. So this is about our company. So thank you all for listening to me. If you have any questions, you can ask. If any one of you are interested, you can visit our laboratory. We are offering training also to the students. Even we are helping the students to get the job. Even in my company, I have a 10 job, 10 vacancies are there. If anybody is very serious, you really want to take an opportunity, you are most welcome. But we generally prefer LSCs. So thank you very much for giving the opportunity.
Nice presentation. Any questions from audience? Yes. There is nickel 20. Okay. Clearly explained about the quantification of the elemental impurities, types of impurities, organic impurities, inorganic impurities, about the USP and green analytical techniques, about the specificity, system precision, method precision, accuracy, etc. In addition, he has explained about the Star Tech Laboratories and he has offered internship to the students. Thank you very much, sir. for offering internship to our students, and has explained very clearly. Give very big round of applause to the young department, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for the nice presentation. I really enjoyed it. Oh, sir is willing to provide jobs to about a dozen people. Therefore, thank you. Requesting the students.
To the audience here, Dr. Upendra Tripathi is the director of StarTech Labs, which is there in Madinaguda, and he coming all the way here and telling us about what sort of work is happening in his labs. That's a very great thing, and accepting his kindness of accepting the invitation at a one spot observation and all. So for this I really thank you, sir. And I want one of the student please come here with give badge to the sir, please come on the dais, sir. To the dais. I also want to tell one more very important thing which I have thing. He was my PhD supervisor. And this is one token of thing that
I am also very happy to get a very bright student like Nirupa.
Guidelines and different pharmacopoeias. Now I request Dr. G. Nirupa ma'am to felicitate us in short and sadly.
I hope everybody will take, they will utilize this opportunity also. You might have seen what all the work is happening in this lab, and also you might have noted what we told. And please work on it. And very important thing is giving up to 10 job placements in his lab. It's a very great thing. So please, a very big round of applause to him. Looking forward for few more in collaboration with StarTech Labs. And His blessing should be always showered on our college and our people as students and everything. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Now I request Dr. N. Ligaya sir, Chief Scientist, Indian Institute of Chemical Technology, to come on to the dais. I request Annapurna ma'am to present the sapling and badge. I request Ms. Sirisha ma'am to introduce Dr. N. Ligaya sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Greetings to one and all. I, T. Sirisha, would like to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Ligaya sir. Dr. Ligaya sir obtained PhD in Chemistry Fellow at Korea Research Institute of Chemical Technology, Daejeon, South Africa, and Queen's University, Belfast, UK. He is a life member of Catharsis Society of India and University, USA. Sir has a publications around 170 research articles in national and international journals and 5 patents. Sir has received an honor which includes D.S. Satyam Award for Best Presentation by Catalysis Society of India and Ram Research Fellowship provided by CSIR, New Delhi. Sir, it's a great honor to have you here, sir. Now the session is over to you. Well, I request Dr. Upendra Tripathi, sir, to chair this session. So there is a change. I request Ashok sir to chair this session. Thank you.
I am very happy to announce that I am chairing the session of my own student, Dr. Nilay.
Difficult to speak in front of the teacher. We are the basic first batch students in PG Center of Osmania University. We learned the organic chemistry basics from sir. I think many chemistry in and around Hyderabad are students of Dr. Professor Ashok. So, at the outset, I thank the organizers for giving this opportunity to share some of the ongoing research activities at our department at Indian Institute of Chemical Technology. So, earlier other aspects of the catalysis. Now, today I am going to speak about environmental problem, about the mitigation of the CO2. Everybody knows CO2, no? I think you are all BSc students. Okay, so I want to clear one thing is don't bother about chemistry. I am not going to teach any chemistry. Your teachers will teach. Just I want to emphasize what are the problems and how the researchers are looking and how the challenges are solved and what is the required of the society. So these aspects I want to emphasize. Other than that, you don't bother about the chemistry, some chemistry present in my slides. Okay? Try to understand how the research is going on a particular problem. That's what I want to bring to your attention. So here today I am talking about CO2 capture and utilization and capturing by adsorbents, particularly solid adsorbents, and utilization conversion of the CO2 using a catalyst. I think Dr. Tripathi asked what is the definition of the catalysis. Yes? Now you all know, no? So is not working. Yeah. So we know that the primary needs of the society are the people in food, shelter, and clothes. Yes. So there is another component in the present the developed country. What is the other necessity other than this thing? Oxygen is next. Energy. Yes, energy is become a basic need, like for our mobility and our existence. See, we are not able to spend 1 hour without mobile phone, or we are not able to go to 1 kilometer without a vehicle. Yes? So, energy become a necessity. And at the same time, energy is creating problems to our environment and our society. So, in that aspect, from where the electricity comes? From coal burning, nuclear energy, and for all our transport we use petroleum-based fuels. So, everything, the energy, we are utilizing in some different sources. And there are different sources. One is nuclear, natural gas like this petrol or natural gas, and coal, and some other petrol liquid diesel we use. And in that, these are all comes under fossil fuels which are available in our earth. Okay, natural artificial energy. And now people are talking about the renewable energy sources because we are having problems with this natural fossil fuels. Because any fuel contains carbon. When you burn carbon, what happens? Any hydrocarbon you burn, what you get? Carbon dioxide and water. Okay. So as we are using more energy for our transport, for our electricity, AC, everything, so we are depending on the natural fossil fuels and coal. So you are generating more CO2. Then when CO2 is increasing, when we are using more energy, then you are increasing the CO2 concentration. CO2 is a greenhouse gas, and because we are having, what is the ppm present in our atmosphere, you know anyone? How much is CO2 concentration? It is in ppm levels, okay? So because of the excess use of greenhouse gases, CO2, methane, N2O, these are all coming from the energy resources. For example, these are the greenhouse gases and they are depleting the ozone layer. And methane and CO2, N2O, these are comes from the transportation sector. Okay. So among these different ones, and the large excess producing gases are methane and CO2. Methane comes from the coal bed methane they call. When you dig coal for our energy purposes, methane also comes out of the coal. And CO2, when you burn coal, you will get. So in India, 70 to 80% of energy, electricity is produced from coal. So that's why we are having more amount of CO2 and methane. So these two greenhouse gases are not good for our environment. Okay. Here, now because of our excess use, the CO2 concentration is increasing. It should be, the present levels are processed more than 400. So now there should not be any CO2 emission, net zero CO2. For that, because we cannot avoid the use of transportation fuel, or we cannot live without energy. Then how you can tackle this? The one method is, whatever the CO2 is produced because of this energy, you have to trap it and convert to something. So it is a CO2 is one carbon and two oxygen molecules are there. That means all the hydrocarbons containing carbon. That means this carbon can also be utilized. That's why this is called. And when you look for before going to the conversion, what already present excess of CO2. So the CO2 is coming. Then people are looking into different aspects how you can control the CO2. So one thing is you capture the CO2 coming out of the for example the electricity producing. For example, we have the Ramagundam thermal power plant where the coal is burned and you will get a lot of CO2. So there you can trap the CO2, and CO2 can be injected into, because we are already digging coals and the mines are vacant, and can you inject back this CO2 into the earth crust or into the deep ocean, either it is in a supercritical condition or it is a liquid form or it is a gaseous form. So people are looking for different options because it is like dumping. What we do, the municipality will take all our household waste taken from our, like that you can trap the CO2 and dump in the under earth crust. So this is the one option. Of course, that the geophysics, geography, geology are looking those aspects. As we are chemists, our role is how we can trap. Then we can trap and give the geologist can inject into the earth. So in that aspect, yeah. So now we are working on how to trap this CO2. So there are different methods available. One is you can, because you know the source of, you can capture this one during the pre-combustion itself, fuel, oxy-fuel combustion capture. This means pre-combustion means, for example, you are burning the coal. During the burning itself, you can convert that CO2 into some other thing. Okay, that we call, don't bother much chemistry about that. That is one method. During conversion of this coal into, we call syngas, that means CO and hydrogen. There you will get, you can capture that, you can convert. And the most important one is the middle one, post combustion. And already you combusted the coal, you generated electricity, and the CO2 is coming out from the chimney exhaust, and it goes straight into the atmosphere. So, from the outlet, you collect the CO2. That is called post-combustion CO2 capture. Or sometimes this post-combustion, what happens? They will burn along with air. Air contains nitrogen and other things, and coal contains lot of impurities. It contains sulfur compounds, it contains mercury, other things. So different, they call flue gases, and different impurities will be there. So their combustion, trapping the selectively the CO2 is somewhat difficult. Then what the people do is, instead of air, they use pure oxygen. Then if you have a pure oxygen, oxygen is a very good combustion. So you will 100% convert into CO2. So you will get more amount of CO2 and you can trap that CO2 easily. So this is called the available methods. Are you following?
Yes.
Okay. So here the chemistry comes. Okay. So CO2, everybody knows its nature. It is an acid or base. CO2 also we should know what its features. CO2 is a slightly. So people are looked into different base systems. So we know as a chemist what are bases. And CO2 is a gas and inert molecule. It is chemically very inert. So different materials are available, either solids or liquids, and like zeolites, silica aluminates, oxides, some oxides like magnesium, calcium, they are base oxides, and hydrolysides like aluminum, magnesium mixed oxides, or amines known for their basicity, so amine liquid or amine kept on a solid, or carbon. Carbon is also very good. You can get both in acid and base properties containing carbons. So these are some of the materials you can use and trap the CO2. So in this technique, there are different materials are available. Our interest, because anything you do always comes, the end is the economics and the efficiency. These are the two factors the industry looks. So when your process is not economically viable, whatever you do, it is not going to see the light. So in this aspect, here I defined some of the other detailed metal oxides. Don't bother much about this. So in this one, we selected carbons, and that carbons also we want to make very cheap. And in the recent, we are having a lot of biomass. Biomass, Anand will tell in the afternoon what is the biomass. And the biomass, whatever the green, anything waste, the leaves, stems, agriculture waste, rasta, rices, the waste green is the biomass. It contains cellulose emission, which is nothing but carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. Petrol contains carbon, hydrogen. Biomass contains carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Okay? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So, because this biomass is available, then can we use this biomass to make the carbon and to capture the CO2? That was the research what elements. So in that I tell there are different biomass. I have taken one example. You might be doing this first phenomenon involved with this. Yes, but they go very fast, and that is abundantly available, and taken this. And of course, don't bother about the chemistry. We do the pre-treatment and treatment because we want to, as I told, this material should contain some basic science, okay, to absorb this acidic CO2 one. So for that, what we did, we have modified this one by treating with chemical treating and digesting, and finally what we did, we carbonize. That means we expose it to the high temperature in the inert. Then you make the carbon. I think in our older villages we do bogu. Nothing but the carbon derived from wood. This one. Okay. Then it is a gas molecule. The molecule has certain parameters. Like CO2 has the size, some angstroms, and it is a basic. So that means when it is a gas and this is a solid. So you have to make the interaction between a solid and the gas. So gas won't like and come and sit on the solid. It may dissolve in the liquid easily. So that you have to enhance the absorption capacity. For that, it should have more sizes, so that the CO2 can go inside and sit. So for that, we say that is a surface area. Okay? For example, when we make one molecule, treated at 900 degrees, it contains around 900 meters square per gram. You imagine 900 meters is like a football ground. 1 gram of carbon contains, if you calculate the size, is that much and go inside and fix. So that's why we studied all its parameters. And once we know the parameters, then it is a carbon. Carbon contains different structures. Diamond is also carbon, is it not? It's not crystalline, we call amorphous carbon, graphitic carbon. How much is graphite, how much is amorphous, you can estimate from a Raman technique. Raman spectroscopy invented by our Sir. So this is a beautiful technique. You can identify what type of carbon we found. Now we know the property of the structure and what structural feature it has, and we also see what is its inner surface, vertical side, because we have prepared these carbons under different conditions with different treatments. Then now we estimated the CO2 absorption. So there we use one reactor passing through the gases, and we analyze by the gas chromatography, earlier called gas chromatography, HPLC. So this is a method of estimation. Don't bother about that one. Then we did different temperatures, because when the CO2 is coming from the exhaust of the thermal power plant will contain the different temperatures. Okay. So at different temperature, how much CO2 this our adsorbent can absorb? That we estimated room temperature 50 degrees, 70 degrees. And you can see, with increasing the temperature, the absorption capacity is decreasing. Anybody knows that? Why? Because absorption of any gas on a solid is a exothermic reaction. So that's why it won't be a good absorption at a high temperature. So we generally estimate at room temperature. So for example, can you put that? For example, I showed you this 901, which has more surface area and more graphitic structure, that shows high capacity. that many millimoles of carbon dioxide absorbed per gram of our carbon. So, and more amount of basic sites as have the high absorption rate. Like that, we design the carbon materials for the absorption of CO2. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Next slide. Okay, once you absorb, get rid of from that one. Then again, it has to be reabsorbed. So then how many cycles you can do? So otherwise, if you once you do throw, it is not economically viable. So for that, you should have the repeatability. So we estimated, for example, here I did 10 cycles in our lab. So we absorb and dissolve. Like that, we continued up to 10 cycles. You can see there may be a slight change in the initial one, but the absorption dissolption capacity is very good, reusable. So that means these materials can be used for longer periods. Okay? This is the way how we look in the development of different carbon absorbents. For example, here I show this is the Subra wood. For my understanding about the structural features, we have taken different waste materials. Okay, some of this reddish, I don't know the Telugu name. These are the Arjuna seeds, which are available in and around in our campus. We have taken this, the Karanja, whatever. Even Munjaru, I don't know, Munjaru is here. Munjaru potatoes are less. Even that also we use. Okay. So different this waste biomass can be used to make the carbons, and can be used. These carbons are very good, useful in other for the purification. Sir told the impurities in the chemical, in the drugs. Those can also be trapped with these carbons. Okay. So this is the one application. What we are okay, we have made from the different coconut shell, chestnut, peanut shells. These are some of the bamboo. So we have made for Arjun seeds. So you can see one of our work with the Arjun seeds, we got very good absorption capacity. So like that, we make the different active carbons with controlled pore size and controlled basicity, so that our aim is to get more amount of CO2 absorption. Okay? Is it clear? So the CO2 absorption. There are other compounds also. You use zeolites, amines, in the taking a waste material, try to convert it to a useful adsorbent for CO2. Okay? This is the research what we are doing at present. Okay? Is it clear? The next one is utilization. Because as I told, CO2, you have carbon. Carbon is very useful. Wherever you have carbon, you should not waste. So now there is a concept in the research, waste to wealth. So whatever we use, okay, then that from the waste. For example, we are having the PET bottles. We are all drinking the cool drinks and water in that is also terephthalic acid PET bottle, monomer or other chemicals. So like that, CO2 it contains one carbon. We will call that C1 chemistry. The C1 utilization, where this CO2 can be converted into different chemicals. One is, we all drink cool drinks. They use carbonated. To make carbonate, CO2 is used. And the major application of CO2 is can you convert it into a fuel? That is otherwise you have a huge amount of CO2. If you make only this carbonating water, is not sufficient. So that's why you have to look for a big application. Big application is like as a fuel or a very highly useful chemical. Is it not? So in that sense, CO2 can be converted into a compound called syngas. That means CO and hydrogen. Okay. you might have thought that from where the hydrogen comes, because CO2 don't have hydrogen. Is it not? You are following some chemistry, you should follow. Huh? Okay. Okay, I will tell later. This CO and hydrogen can be converted into different products. So you can make petrol that called synthetic petrol. Okay. From this syngas, CO and hydrogen, you can make chemicals, you can make some polymers, you can generate power because you can burn it and generate the steam, and a lot of applications you can have from the syngas. How you can convert this CO2 to syngas? Methane. Methane also coming from the coal. So it is also greenhouse gas produced useful chemicals. That was our discussion. So we are utilizing CO2 plus methane. Both are having carbon and hydrogen and oxygen. Can you convert them into chemicals? That is the research what we are doing. So there we call this reaction called reforming reactions. Don't bother much about the terminology at this stage because you are a BSc student. So you can do partial oxidation of methane. Any hydrocarbon partial oxidation, what you will get? Full oxidation, what you will get? You don't know by initially CO2. Yes? Complete oxidation, yeah, what you will get? Hydrocarbon, complete oxidation, what you will get? CO2 and water. Partial oxidation? Carbon monoxide. Yes? So that what we do, partial oxidation of methane, or we call dry reforming of methane, both together CO2 and methane, or we can add water, methane, CO2 can convert into CO and hydrogen. Once you have CO and hydrogen, you can do lot of catalysis. You will get methanol, you will get other alcohols, you will get synthetic petrol, you will get ethylene monomer. There are a lot of products can be formed from the syngas. So for this, what is syngas with more hydrogen, because to get methanol, for example, CO plus hydrogen, that means you should have more hydrogen when you want to make methanol. So that's why we should get more hydrogen. When you do CO2, you will get CO and CO2. If you have water also, you will get more hydrogen. So that means 3 plus 2, 5 you are getting. So that's why we are adding water, and methane, CO2 and water, you will get more amount of hydrogen, and this is a highly endothermic reaction. Endothermic reaction means you have to work at high temperature. Here the catalysis comes into picture. Okay. So these reforming reactions are catalytic reactions. You know now the definition of the catalyst? The catalyst which accelerates the rate of the reaction and it won't consume during the reaction. Yes? So with methane and CO2, as I told, CO2 is a very inert molecule and it is an endothermic reaction. So you need a catalyst which can force the CO2 to react with the methane and get it. So there the research is required. That's what we are working. Okay? So in this reaction, what happened? You will also get carbon. Even as a carbon to get more active. So for this particular reaction, there are different mixed oxides, and metal on the mixed oxides you can make. So noble metal catalysts are very expensive. So that's why we are working on the noble metal catalyst, particularly nickel and cobalt. So don't bother much about these oxides or the catalyst. What I want to tell is, so what our aim is, CO2 and methane, to specifically hydrogen-rich syngas. So going on the catalyst and react instantaneously on the surface and forms a product. This is a fraction of seconds reaction. Okay. So that means you should have That's why we are using basic oxides like lanthanum and strontium to have the high activity. So here we have like a variety of the catalysts with different compositions. Don't bother use the active nickel, which is expensive. So we use only is like coating work. Because the here example full gold material, gold ornament, what do we do? We are gold coated on the silver. Inside is silver and it looks gold. In the same way, we want nickel catalyst, but we can't take full nickel. What we do? We dispose the nickel on a inert material. Sometimes the inert material will also have certain property. So in the same way, we prepare a nickel and cobalt catalyst coated on these mixed oxides which are cheap and stable. Okay, the last one. So this is the reaction what we use, and so the reaction is continuously happening. What is a continuously going? You don't have the gases to trap and analyze. So what we will do? We will directly connect to the instrument which analyzes. That is gas chromatography. We analyze continuously, and we are working at a high temperature because CO2, as I told, it is an endothermic reaction. So here I am showing we have very low activity, conversions are low, and when we have and also lanthanum and strontium, we varied its composition, molar ratios 1:1, 2:1, 3:1, like that. So then we got high activity and we did with varying the nickel content. So nickel we have taken small to dispersed more. Then around 12% we call monolayer, because if it is completely covered on this nickel, this strontium oxide, then only it has high activity. Okay, that also we estimated, and also at what temperature the reaction is more. Like that we studied at different parameters. Then, okay, we made some catalysts and we did the reaction and we got some result. One is showing less, one is showing high. Why? So where the result comes. So then we characterize the structural features, surface features, we form certain phases, and because of the presence of these certain phases, the basicity is increased, and if the basicity is increased, then CO2 is absorbed more, and when it is absorbed more, it has the ability to interact more. When interaction is more between the molecules, then the bond breaking and new bond forming is more. Is it not? So that's why we are getting high activity when we have a mixed oxides. Okay? So then we have the nickel. Nickel is the action because nickel will break the methane into carbon and hydrogen, and the hydrogen reacts with CO, it reduces and forms CO and hydrogen. Okay. So then we estimate a method called temperature program reduction. So the catalyst we pass with a reducing gas like hydrogen, and where the nickel is, what is the oxidation state of nickel oxide? +2. Yes. So but during the reaction it should be in the metal form. When we prepare it is +2. So you have to from +2 to 0, what you have to do? Reduction, yes? So we do the reduction. When at what temperature that nickel oxide will become nickel? Then we will estimate this method. And we know that it is reduced fully at around 700. So that means, okay, once you make the catalyst, you have to reduce in hydrogen at 700 so that your all nickel oxide is converted into nickel. Then you can use for your reaction. Okay? So like that. Now we estimated the nickel +2 to nickel 0, and here we estimated the basicity with a technique called temperature program desorption method. And for example, you see with a more amount of lanthanum in the support, we got a big peak, that magenta color, no? That means this particular composition resulted in more amount of base. Those are responsible for the generation of more basicity, and it contains more basicity. And am I clear? So we make catalyst and we do reaction. Some gives activity. We have to identify why it is giving good, why it is not giving good. Negative result is also very important. Carbon formation takes place because at high temperature methane may break, and how much stable, because this reaction runs for months. So we estimated the stability. So we did the reaction continuously for more than 50 hours non-stop, and every hour we analyzed the products. So our catalyst, particularly one catalyst with 3:1 ratio of lanthanum strontium with 12% nickel has shown stable activity. That means, okay, this is the way these type of catalysts are required for this type of reaction. So like that we do the research. And here also, because we are working, sometimes what happens, when you are working at high temperature, this nickel and other may come out or may sinter and become more particle. So I thought wherever nickel will less, then activity goes down. For that we have a perovskite type of materials, and don't bother about this. So like that we make these different composition compounds, and also we estimated both its reducibility. So what we did is here, for example, we put the strontium. With increasing the base strontium, then the nickel is reduced easily. So that gave an idea, okay. That means this shows that now we want to working at 800. So if the nickel is reduces at 600, so I can operate the reaction at 600. So that is the one approach to make this one. Of course, here we have shown the activities for this particular catalyst at 800. We got 650 to 800 degrees centigrade, and now we are working in the 600 Celsius reaction. So here you can see this catalyst we studied for more than 100 hours. Now we have studied another catalyst for 500 hours also. So you can see we got very good conversions. Methane conversion is close to 90%, and the CO2 conversion is close to 80%, with about 70% of syngas with close to 1:2 ratio of CO and nitrogen. So this shows that our catalyst is very stable, and we also analyzed some of the catalysts why they are not that stable. So as I told, carbon is the one. Then we estimated the carbon after using this catalyst. Then the catalyst which is showed more than 100 has only less amount of carbon. But for example, when we have a more amount of strontium, the catalyst showed very less activity. During the time on stream it reactivated fast. So like this we study, and we are trying to understand the reactions. This is the way. Here I try to emphasize for a given problem how researchers are looking to solve that problem and what is the chemistry is required. And for example, as I am working in the catalyst and materials, so what type of materials one can synthesize, which should be relatively cheap and easy to make and should have high activity. These are some of the requirements. And in that, and how we can achieve these targets, that is the research what we do. Okay, these are all work done by students like you. So here I can summarize. As I mentioned, we are making the carbon adsorbents for CO2. We are using only the waste biomass to convert them into carbon adsorbents and modifying them to increase the one. That is the one. In the CO2 utilization, we are working on nickel-based systems where we are trying to increase the stability and the dispersion of this active component and improving the basicity by using some mixed oxides, not only the basicity and stability also. So these are the way how we are approaching in the mitigation of the CO2. So here my more focus is on CO2 to useful chemicals. As a catalysis researchers, I always don't waste the carbon source and convert that into a useful. So this work for any research work, we also need for any research we need funding from the private R&D and also from our CSR. And thank you for your kind attention.
Your excellent lecture on carbon dioxide absorption.
Yeah, of course, as an environmental engineering division, Dr. Venkatraman is working in those aspects. Yes, and there he is generating hydrogen from this. We call that biohydrogen.
You want questions?
Students, you told you understood everything, no?
If they understood everything, no questions. Don't understand anything also, no questions. I have one or two questions. Anthropogenic gases, you mentioned in your slide. Anthropogenic gases, carbon dioxide, methane.
Yeah, in the clouds or carbons goes to the stratosphere.
Okay.
Those are ozone depleting gases.
Okay. Okay. And what is this adsorbents? SP is 600, SP 900.
It is only that this Subhabu Buddha.
Okay. What about 600, 900?
600, we harmonized at 600 degrees centigrade.
Okay.
Another one is 900 degrees centigrade. That is rotation we use. That's why, yeah. Because you have to make carbon. So 600, what happens? No, you will generate more gas. And also you will get the more graphite.
Okay. What is meant by syn gases?
Syngas is CO and that is synthesis gas. From that you made now, for example, there is a plant called Saso.
Oh.
Synthetic oil. They don't have any petroleum reserve. So they make syngas. From syngas they produce
Okay.
in Malaysia also they make. And syngas too, we call FT synthesis.
Oh, yes.
FT synthesis is methanol is produced only from the syngas.
Okay.
And all higher alcohols, bulk alcohols are produced from this syngas. These are the basic raw materials for many chemicals.
Okay. Nice, nice.
The refineries are the thermal power plants that we call flue gas. Flue gases contains all other impure gases. Okay. So that is the one. The CO2 should selectively absorb because the different other gases also having different properties. CO2, as I told, it has a basic property. Okay. So the other one will be mostly nitrogen and other things. Okay, in the which is air burn. No? So the flue gases, it is not. There are certain stages because they use other adsorbents. For example, mercury is the one big, and sulfur to certain extent. Okay, these two are handled separately and CO2. But we will get pure CO2 mostly from the petroleum refineries. But coal, this thing, I didn't show the flue gas composition. It contains all other gases also. But of course, there are different treatment stages. That you analyze to slope. But flue gases contains only CO2 in small quantity.
Sir, you said that CO2 is trying to convert as a fuel sir. It may
Yes,
affect
we have more CO2. So that's why we have high temperatures and also floods because of the CO2. CO2 excess is not good now. Now because the atmospheric temperature is increasing because of its greenhouse effect. So we have to reduce. Now that's why all countries now by 2040 to 2070 we should be neutral. That means the carbon cycle, because carbon dioxide utilized by the plants. That's why we want to look for vegetation. Okay. Now in North India also we burn and you will get a lot of CO2. Okay. Now they are banned. Now and otherwise now people are using renewable energies rather than the fossil fuels. Okay, this biodiesel where the combustion is more and if you make from the biomass, then again you have to grow. That CO2, there should not be any net CO2 release. Okay? That is the concept. Thank you.
Any other queries? Sir Ashok sir, for taking this session. Thank you, Dr. Lingaya sir. Carbon dioxide using different solid absorbents and catalysts for sustainable development in the lab. Now I would like to invite Dr. G. Nirupa ma'am and OSD Dr. Lingaya sir, Chief Scientist at IICT Hyderabad.